Greetings and salutations, and welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk, where we take a dive into more sports. In case you don't know, my name's Chad, and this is my NFL Week 9 recap video, where we review all the action that transpired this past Week 9. And let you know how to fare against my picks than I did last Thursday. And I wasn't too bad, but I went 500 this week. There's definitely a few games that did not seem to go the way it did. So it was definitely one of those weeks. Since the entire weekend, I was pretty, mediocre with my college picks as well. So I think it was just this weekend, just off. I don't know what happened. Let's go dive into last Thursday's game between the New York Jets and the Indianapolis Colts. This one I thought the Colts would be able to rebound and get back on their winning ways, get wins back on track. And Indianapolis was in control for most of this game. Once they took the lead, they never really relinquished it. However, there could be some possible signs of weaknesses of this Colts defense, because Josh Johnson was able to light them up for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, as coming in as a backup to White. So a third stringer lit up that Colts defense, but wasn't enough. Taylor was superb. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 172 yards. Colts ended up winning 45-30 to put that race in the AFC South a little bit tighter. And that helped the Sunday. There's definitely some games on Sunday that did not go the way I saw. Let's start off with the Battle of Ohio between the Browns and Bengals in Cincinnati. The OBJ-free Browns offense took off. It was almost like it was, last year when OBJ was injured. Browns offense was functioning quite well. Seemed to happen again. It was all basically because of Chubb. I mean, that running attack by the Cleveland was just destroyed the Bengals defense. The Browns defensive line flustered Burrow so much that he ended up throwing 2 interceptions. And it was basically on the legs of Chubb that 137 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, as the Browns blew out Cincinnati 41-16. Off the Big D. And Broncos say, we don't need Von Miller. They went into Dallas and frustrated Dak. Dak's timing was way off. He couldn't get anything going, but that Cowboys defense could not stop the run by the Denver Broncos. Williams had over 100 yards rushing. It was just, Denver just picked them apart. And just blew the doors off them 30-16. Head down to Miami. We had the Dolphins hosting Texans. I call this one the garbage bowl because both these teams are bad. Brissett had to jump in and take over because Tua had a broken finger, and Brissett is a very, very capable quarterback. And it was just a very lackluster game. Nothing too exciting in this one. And the Dolphins end up winning 17-9. Now, Atlanta went down to New Orleans. I thought the Saints defense would just come alive these past couple of weeks. If, kind of upset some of my picks. That they were going to be able to do something. Like I said, it didn't really matter who was going to be the quarterback for the Saints. I figured they had, the chemistry, especially with Alvin Kamara. It's a dual threat kind of individual. But Atlanta took to them early and often. I mean, it was a 17-3 heading into the fourth quarter. That's how bad it was. But the Saints came back. They were coming back, and they actually, at one point in time, was leading by 1 point. But once again, you give too much time to Matty Ice. There seems to be enough chemistry on that Falcons offense where they're able to do things, because Matt Ryan had 343 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. So he picked apart that Saints secondary. And Cordell Patterson, the veteran that seems to visit like every single team so far during his NFL career, had over 126 yards receiving. It was just phenomenal, and they gave Matt Ryan too much time. He's able to drive up, set up a coup for a kick. He kicks it, game over. Atlanta wins 27-25. Then the Raiders went to MetLife to take on the Giants. I said the Giants was going to win this one, and I was not disappointed. Carr did have almost 300 yards passing, so he was able to do stuff against that Giants secondary, but it was kind of a bend, don't break type of philosophy for them because they only allowed 16 points. The Giants were just a very consistent team throughout this. Ended up winning 23-16. Then New England visited Carolina, and it was just another solid performance by that Patriots defense. Sam Darnold knows his defense all too well, especially this time frame with the Jets, and he still hasn't figured them out. He threw 3 interceptions. It was not a good day for him at all. The Patriots defense was all over him. Defense returned interceptions for touchdowns. It was just New England was just dominant in their win, knocking off the Panthers 24-6. In a game that no one saw coming, Buffalo went to Jacksonville and struggled. Josh Allen can do anything, but Josh Allen had plenty of things to do in the defense. Yes, that's right. He had 2 players called Josh Allens on both sides of the ball. And Josh Allen actually sacked Josh Allen. He intercepted Josh Allen. I mean, who? What? It's just one of those things, how do you have 2 players the exact same name on the sack playing at the exact same time? It's just weird. But the Jaguars defense, congrats to them. They stepped up. They baffled Buffalo all day long. But the writing was kind of on the wall for Buffalo. They've been struggling these past couple weeks. Maybe the wheel's starting to come off a little bit. The plane's starting to land. Somebody has to refuel. I don't know what they have to do, but Jacksonville have their first win in country this year, knocking off the Bills 9-6. And then Minnesota visited Baltimore to take on the Ravens, and Minnesota came to play in this game. They were giving it to the Ravens pretty much all game, and just Baltimore had to come back from behind pretty much every single play. And they're able to send this game into overtime, scoring 14 points in the fourth. And once there, it's Tucker. Tucker did what he had to do. Large part thanks to Lamar Jackson. He put the Ravens on his shoulders, carried the team. He had 266 yards, 3 TDs. He also ran for 120 yards. Heck, you might as well just throw up and run out there and catch it himself. This is almost what the Baltimore, is. But, he set up the game-winning field goal for Tucker, and that was it. Baltimore wins 34-31. And then the Chargers visited Philadelphia. Philadelphia starting to move up. Chargers are on the way down. They lost a spark. They weren't doing very well, even coming off the bye. They stood up losing, so they need some type of catalyst to get them going again. And it happened to be Philadelphia, but Philadelphia was not going away very easily, and they were fighting them tooth and nail throughout this game. But in the final seconds, that's when the Chargers were able to finally get the W and win 27-24. Herbert had, over 350 yards passing. Howard was doing his thing for the Eagles on the ground. Devontae Smith was also catching 116 yards from Hurst. So it was definitely a good game all around. Philadelphia came out short, Chargers win. Then Green Bay visited Kansas City. Green Bay with having Jordan Love start for his first NFL career start because of Aaron Rodgers and his protocol stance and his current stance on certain things. I'll kind of leave that one alone because I have my own opinions, and they kind of follow along lines with the Fox analyst. So you just watch Terry Bradshaw's rant, and that's pretty much me right there. But anyways, Jordan Love wasn't very comfortable in the beginning. His time was definitely off with his receivers. The Packers defense was doing what they had to do. They stifled Patrick Mahomes all day. It was an ugly game because Packers defense doing what it had to do. Both offenses weren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. The Packers offense made the Chiefs defense look good, but they still left some big plays, some mixed cues. It was enough though. Jordan Love actually found some at the end of the game and got a touchdown there to really make things a little bit interesting. But Patrick Mahomes was able to make a first down, pretty much sealed the deal for the Chiefs and their ugly win. And they ended up beating Green Bay 13-7. And Arizona visiting San Francisco. I really thought San Francisco could give Arizona their second loss of the season. They're already a depleted Cardinals team. Colt McCoy was not starting because Kyler Murray was out. But it was Connor's show because he just ran almost for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, despite Jimmy G's 300 yards, over 300 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. And the Cardinals just decimated the 49ers, 31-17. It's if they can do this depleted. You already know what they've been doing previous to this. They were running amok and annihilating teams. But now they're depleted and they can still do the exact same thing. There's definitely some cause for concern for the rest of the NFL if Arizona continues this way. And Tennessee went into L.A. without King Henry. The Rams, newly acquired Von Miller, couldn't play because he's still kind of nursing his injury. But the Titans stifled Matthew Stafford. It was, scored 21 points in the second quarter. Adrian Peterson, who got signed to, fill in for King Henry, scored his 125th career TD. It was just overall just kind of a poor performance by the Rams once again. They had the team show up to step up and take them on, show them that they're not the best team in the league. And they left LA at 28-16 victors. Now, last night was Monday Night Football. Of course, Chicago Bears were playing Pittsburgh. And once again, early in the game, Chicago was struggling to get things going. Pittsburgh's defense was all over. TJ Watt ended up having 3 sacks overall. He was just all over Justin Fields. But as the game progressed, you start seeing things kind of click in Justin's head, and the offensive coordinator, maybe Nagy, who knows, start seeing things way to make Justin Fields a little bit more comfortable in his role, and start designing plays that really help him out. And the funny thing is, he kept running a wildcat with Montgomery in the backfield, and defense didn't know if he was going to run it or hand it off. That was one of the touchdowns Chicago had. It was a wildcat formation that they handed off to Mooney, who ran it in. But I think the story for this game really was I'm going to say, pretty inconsistent officiating. Especially towards the Bears. Now, I might be a little biased on this one, but there was a touchdown drive that should have counted, but they called for a legal block, and according to the new rules, and they even showcased this on Monday night, he was still within that tight end square where that particular block was allowed. Barely affected TJ Watt, but they threw it, affected it, and then kicking the field goal. Justin Fields kept getting hit late a lot. There's definitely one where he got hit 2 steps, and they hit him. What was that called? But, Ben Roethlisberger barely gets hit, and they flag it. So that's an inconsistent part. You'll call it for Big Ben, but you won't call it for Justin Fields. Why? That's another thing. And then the taunting call on Marsh. Marsh was used to be with Pittsburgh. He was let go, now signed with Chicago, and activated prior to this game due to injuries on the Bears defense. Big sack on Big Ben. He did his big roundhouse kick. Let you know the guy can move. But I think the reason why it got called is because he decided to walk towards the Steelers' sideline, staring them down. Nothing was said, just staring them down. Then he walks off, and then the referee hip checks him, then throws a flag. Unfortunately, with these taunting calls, is something that everyone wanted to address this season. Just don't put the refs in the situations and whatnot. But he didn't throw the flag. The ref didn't throw a flag until after contact was made with him that he initiated. That led to a field goal by Pittsburgh. And it should have been, turnover of downs. I go on and on. If you ever watch Get Up, you definitely I see both sides of what Jeff Saturday, Dominic Foxworthy, and Marcus Spears says on that aspect. I'm with Marcus Spears because it was, there was nothing said. He was looking, he walked, and the referee made contact with him. Then he threw the flag, even though it kind of looked like he already had his hand on it anyways. But that's why I'm not an NFL coach, because I definitely got fined. Yes, I had some very choice words about the officiating last night. All in all, Chicago came back in the fourth quarter. They forced a fumble on a kick return that resulted in a touchdown. There's definitely some questionable antics by Steelers as well as the Bears. So, officiating was, like I said, not very consistent in this game. But Pittsburgh needed what they needed to do, and then beating Chicago 29-27. So now that we have, this is basically the I'm gonna say I guess mid-season, since it's definitely in their 18 weeks, and this is after week 9, so we can kind of look at, how my prediction thus far are standing up to the rest of the league. And overall, I don't think it's that bad. Definitely some interesting standings. You kind of look at this. As I'll, as I go over this, I'll make sure mine is up there next to what is being, what it actually is. So if you look at the AFC East, you'll see that I have, it's almost identical. Just flip-flopping the Jets and the Dolphins. It's pretty much the same. The North, like I said, that's a whole division that could go pretty much all the way. I still have Cleveland on top, but Baltimore's there. So you just kind of flip those 3 playoff teams, and it's basically mine. Then you look at the South, identical so far. But the AFC West is the one that really kind of have things a little skewed. Like I saw, I have the Chiefs and Chargers, then Denver, Vegas. It's there. It's Chargers, Vegas, KC, Denver. So, and then for the NFC, Dallas is on top. I had Washington, so that's definitely a little bit off there. NFC North, identical so far. NFC South, Atlanta, Carolina are flip-flopped. And then if you look at, the NFC West, it's pretty much a reverse. Just reverse that setup, and that's mine. But, we're still got a lot more football left to go. So there's a lot of chances for these things to kind of even out, play out as accordingly. And only time will tell how this goes. This is a very interesting season, to say the least. Some few surprises out there, but I went 7-7 this week. Not my best, but not my worst. So a nice 500 record. So hopefully next week I do a lot better. So I'll make sure I get that video out to you on Thursday before kickoff of the Ravens and Dolphins. There's be an interesting game. Not. But anyhow, hey, if you like my content, just let me know. Leave a comment. Or you can leave a comment. You hit that thumbs up for me. Give me a like. You can also subscribe. Once you subscribe, you hit that bell notification. Next time, post another video. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.